Yeah, can I get a Crunchwrap Supreme?
Okay, anything else?
That'll be it.
Any sauce?
No, I'm good.
Okay, that totals $4.70.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, here's the bag. I used to eat Taco Bell every single day when I was in a deathcore band, and we'd have practice for like 4 hours at a time, and then we'd go to our local Taco Bell, and we'd spend basically no money on 2,000 calories, and I would do this literally every day we practiced, and we practiced 5 to 7 days a week. The Crunchwrap was a few years old, and I very rarely got it because it was, you know, it was expensive. And it's not my favorite item, but it's definitely iconic. And after cutting into it, I'm not too sure why. I won't lie and say that I don't miss Taco Bell, but I will say that I don't miss the severe digestive issues it caused me. How about we throw this sad item into the woods for some bougie woodland critters to enjoy? Let's make something that's not going to destroy my day. For the crunch part of the tortilla, I needed something that would hopefully crisp up. What I did was add 4 ounces of mozzarella, 1 ounce of pork rinds, and 1 whole egg to a food processor. I processed on low for about 1 minute and it turned into an actual dough. I will 100% be doing other things with this, so be on the lookout for that. Let's set this to the side and get some other things ready. I used my crepe recipe for the soft tortilla, which I just recently did. Check out the top right of the screen to watch that video too. I used 2 ounces of pork rinds, 4 eggs, and a half cup of water. Mix this together and then realize that a rubber spatula isn't a great mixing tool, so switch to a whisk. Set this aside and adjust the water as needed to thin it out. You'd think that ground beef would be simple enough, but you'd be surprised on how to get finer ground beef without searing it. I learned this one from my first boss. Add about a half cup of water to your pan first and set it to medium-high heat. Add your ground beef and begin to chop it up. You'll want to continuously chop it up and add water to this to keep everything from browning too fast and clumping up. Drain this and put it back on the pan over medium-low heat while we add 1 teaspoon of onion powder, a half teaspoon of garlic powder, a half teaspoon of beef bouillon powder, a half teaspoon of cumin, a half teaspoon of chili powder, and a half teaspoon of paprika. Stir this for about a minute to let all the spices toast and come together, and then salt this to taste and then set aside. Now, Taco Bell's cheese sauce is a pretty complex flavor of fake cheese and jalapeno. So let's set up a double boiler over medium heat and add 6 slices of trash cheese, a half cup of whole milk, and 3 to 6 tablespoons of pickled jalapeno juice, just depending on how spicy you want it. While stirring this, you're probably going to think that you've made a huge mistake, but just keep stirring and eventually you'll realize that the mistake was just an illusion. Since this is done, let's hide it away with our other fillers, but over a low source of heat if possible to keep it melty. You don't have to go out and buy a fancy griddle pan like me, but I do suggest that you use the biggest non-stick pan that you own. The bigger the pan, the bigger the tortilla. That makes it easier to wrap later. Place down 2/3 of a cup of your soft tortilla batter to a non-stick surface set over medium heat. Spread it out with a spatula as evenly as possible. Slide this onto a plate after about a minute of cooking and then flip it back onto the pan using the plate for an additional 30 seconds to finish it cooking. Here it is again, just to reiterate that you should definitely slide this onto a plate and then use the plate to flip it over. It can be very fragile. Now it's time for the quote-unquote crunch part of this Crunchwrap. The thing I like about this dough is that it actually reminds me of making tortillas. Place about a 2-ounce ball of your dough and place it onto a plate lined with parchment paper. Now top that with another sheet of parchment paper and take a flat bottom plate or something like it and press down firmly and evenly to flatten out our dough ball. This is just a bit sticky, so it could possibly lose some pieces. Just patch it where you need it. I also highly suggest to remove both sides of the parchment paper before placing onto a pan set over medium-high heat. I was going for the most texture I could possibly get here, and these cooked for about 3 minutes per side in total. I kept checking and they actually had a good outside texture, but they weren't quite as crispy as I was shooting for. I think next time I'm going to try pan frying them to see what happens, so if you do that, please let me know how it turned out. Well, that was our mise en place, so let's assemble this thing. Here's how to make a carnivore Crunchwrap. Take one of your soft tortillas and then spread out some of your cheese sauce. Place down about a 1/4 cup of ground beef and then top with your crunchy tortilla. The only way I could make this supreme was by adding sour cream because lettuce and tomatoes are already off the menu, and I especially dislike hot food with cold lettuce and tomatoes. Wrap everything over one corner at a time and press firmly to keep its shape. Finally, I uselessly griddled my Crunchwrap, but it really is a pointless endeavor. This soft tortilla has too much moisture to be able to brown up well. I think you could skip this part if you really want to. Well, here's the bag again. Let's see how this thing looks. Oh yeah, that iconic shape-ish is there. It's a little floppy, but it smells too good to not get a bite in. I'm glad I have a bowl of my cheese sauce because a little souffle cup wouldn't have been enough. Hey, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for me. It really does help me out a ton and it keeps me going. I will definitely be trying to make more fast food recipes as carnivore as possible, so also leave a comment down below to let me know what you want to see next. Mentante finito, mis amigos.